What if I told you that the government raising taxes could be the best thing that ever happened to your portfolio? I know it sounds completely backward. For most investors, the words higher taxes trigger an instant gut reaction. It feels like a penalty on your success, a direct hit to your bottom line, and that emotional reaction is exactly why so many people miss the massive opportunity hiding in plain sight. But in the next few minutes, I am going to show you how the smartest investors secretly use tax hikes to create explosive growth after taxes, and how you can too. We're going to demolish the myth that higher taxes sink everyone's boat, because for the investor who's prepared, a rising tax rate isn't a threat. It's a strategic advantage. It's a lever that, if you just learn how to pull it, can create a huge gap between your portfolio and everyone else's. I'm a certified financial planner, and I've spent years guiding clients through every kind of market you can imagine. And the one thing I've seen over and over is that building wealth isn't just about what you make, it's about what you keep. For us investors, the after tax number is the only number that truly matters, and here's the secret. In a world of rising taxes, the value of keeping your returns skyrockets. The good news is you have way more control over your tax bill than you think. Stick with me because I am about to show you four powerful ways to turn this common fear into your secret weapon for building wealth. Section 1. Busting the big myth. Why higher taxes create opportunity. The single biggest myth out there is that when taxes go up, everyone loses. We picture our hard earned gains getting shaved down and we just accept it, but that's a dangerously simple way to look at it. The reality is, a higher tax rate acts as a great divider. It separates the passive, reactive investor from the proactive, strategic one. Here's why: the higher the tax rate, the more valuable every single dollar of tax savings becomes. Think about it like this. Let's say you find a strategy that saves you $1,000 on your tax bill. When the top tax rate is 20%, that $1,000 in your pocket is nice. Maybe it's a weekend trip. But when the top tax rate jumps to 40%, that exact same 1000 savings is now shielding income that would have been hit twice as hard. The value of that savings didn't just go up, it effectively doubled in terms of the pre-tax income you get to keep. The strategies themselves don't change, but their power gets amplified like crazy. This is what tax efficient investing is all about: structuring your portfolio to slash the taxes you pay on returns, which maximizes what you actually get to own, free and clear. As tax rates climb, the reward for doing this intelligently grows exponentially. This is how the wealthy play the game. They don't just focus on earning more, they obsess over losing less. So let's get into the first specific strategy you can use to do the exact same thing. Section 2, Strategy number 1: the Great Account Shuffle. Mastering asset location. The first and maybe the most powerful strategy is called asset location. Now, don't mix this up with asset allocation. Asset allocation is what you buy your mix of stocks and bonds. Asset location is where you put those investments to get the best possible after tax result. A huge part of being tax smart is simply putting the right investment in the right account. You really have three kinds of accounts to work with. 1. Taxable brokerage. Pretty simple. You pay taxes on dividends and capital gains as you go. 2. Tax deferred. Your traditional 401ks and IRAs. You get a tax break on the money you put in. It grows without being taxed, but you pay regular income tax on every dollar you pull out in retirement. 3. Tax exempt. Your Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks. You put in after tax money, but then it grows, and you can pull it out in retirement, 100% tax free. The rookie mistake is to just copy and paste your portfolio into every account. You decide on a 60/40 stock or bond split, so you put a 60/40 mix in your 401k, your Roth, and your brokerage account. This feels organized, but it's a massive, costly error. The real strategy is to put your least tax efficient assets into your best tax sheltered accounts. So, what's a tax inefficient asset? It's anything that spits out a lot of taxable income each year. Think of corporate bonds paying regular interest, certain REITs or actively managed funds that are constantly buying and selling, generating short term capital gains. These things belong in your tax advantaged accounts like an IRA or 401k, where all that income they kick off is shielded from annual taxes, letting it compound much faster. On the flip side, you want your most tax efficient assets sitting in your regular taxable brokerage account. What are those? Things like broad market index funds or ETFs that don't trade much and don't generate a lot of taxable events. Individual stocks you plan to hold for the long haul are also great here, since they'll eventually be taxed at lower long term capital gains rates. Let me make this real. Imagine two investors, Sarah and Tom. They both have a $500,000 portfolio split between a $250,000 traditional IRA and a $250,000 taxable account. Both want a 60/40th stock to bond mix. Tom does what most people do. He puts a 60/40th mix in both accounts. This means he has $100,000 worth of bonds in his taxable account, and every year the interest from those bonds gets taxed at his full income tax rate. Sarah is playing chess. She knows bonds are tax inefficient, so she holds all $200,000 of her bonds inside her tax deferred IRA. Section 3. Strategy number 2, the Roth Conversion power play. This next strategy is a game changer if you believe, as many do, that tax rates are heading higher in the future. It's the Roth Conversion. All this means is that you move money from a traditional pre-tax retirement account like an IRA or 401k over to a Roth IRA. The catch is you have to pay ordinary income tax on the amount you convert in the year you do it. Now, why on earth would you volunteer to pay the IRS sooner than you have to? Because you're making a calculated trade. You're choosing to pay taxes now, at what you believe are lower rates, in exchange for tax-free growth and most importantly tax-free withdrawals for the rest of your life. With many current tax cuts scheduled to expire after 2025, tax rates are set to automatically jump back up. That makes right now a critical window to potentially lock in what might be historically low rates. Think about it. If you have a 500,000 traditional IRA and figure you'll be in the 24% bracket in retirement, every $10,000 you pull out will cost you $2,400 in taxes. But what if tax rates go back up and that bracket becomes 28%? By converting to a Roth, you are taking control. You're locking in your tax rate today. You take the hit now to permanently kill that future tax liability. This isn't just about saving money. It's about buying yourself certainty in retirement. It's knowing that when you have a great year in the market, 100% of that growth in your Roth is yours. And this isn't an all or nothing gamble. In fact, converting your entire IRA at once is usually a bad idea because it can launch you into a much higher tax bracket for the year. The smarter play is to make partial conversions over several years. You fill up your current tax bracket. For example, if you're solidly in the 22% bracket, you could convert just enough from your traditional IRA to take you right up to the edge of that bracket without spilling over into the 24% one. You can repeat this year after year, strategically shifting money from the forever taxed bucket to the never taxed again bucket. Alright, we're halfway through, and we've already covered two huge ways to turn the tables on the taxman. If you're already starting to see how much control you really have, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It is a huge free way to support the channel and it tells the YouTube algorithm that more people need to see this. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe so you don't miss out on more deep dives into building and protecting your wealth. Now let's get to strategy number 3. Section 4. Strategy number 3, the high bracket shield. Municipal bonds, our third strategy, uses an old school tool that becomes an absolute superstar in a high tax world. Municipal bonds, munis as they're called, are just loans you make to states, cities, or counties to help them fund projects like new schools or highways. But here's their superpower. The interest income you earn is typically exempt from federal income tax. And if you buy munis issued by your home state, that interest is often free from state and local taxes too. In a low tax world, this benefit isn't that exciting. A regular corporate bond might pay 5% interest, while a tax-free muni pays 4%. If you're in a low tax bracket, you might still come out ahead with the corporate bond, but as tax rates climb, this math flips on its head. Let's run the numbers. Imagine you're in the 32% federal tax bracket and you are looking at two bonds. a corporate bond yielding 6% and a muni bond yielding 4.5%. At first glance, 6% crushes 4.5%, but that corporate bond interest is taxable. After the government takes its 32% cut, that 6% yield shrinks to just 4.08%. All of a sudden, the 4.5% tax-free yield from the muni bond is the clear winner. The higher your tax bracket, the wider this gap becomes. This is a perfect example of our main point. Higher tax rates directly make a specific investment more valuable to you. As the government's take on interest goes up, the value of an investment that legally sidesteps that take goes through the roof. It's a simple, powerful way to build a defensive wall around your income portfolio, making sure more of the money it generates lands in your pocket, not the IRS's. Section 5. Strategy number for the silver lining, weaponizing tax loss harvesting. This fourth strategy sounds like a downer, but it's one of the most powerful moves you can make. Tax loss harvesting, in simple terms, this is where you strategically sell an investment that has lost money. You realize that loss on paper, then use that loss to cancel out capital gains from your winning investments. And if your losses are bigger than your gains, you can use up to $3,000 of that loss per year to lower your regular income, which is usually taxed at much higher rates. Any leftover losses can be carried forward to future years. So, how do higher taxes make this even better? It's all about the value of that deduction. Canceling out a capital gain is great anytime, but canceling out a gain that would have been taxed at 20% is a lot better than one taxed at 15%, and wiping out 3,000 of ordinary income that would have been taxed at 37% saves you a hell of a lot more money than when it was taxed at 24%. Higher taxes supercharge the value of every single loss you harvest. But here's the strategic magic. This isn't about admitting defeat or timing the market. You aren't trying to pick losers. It's about taking advantage of the market's natural rhythm. Even in good years for the market, some of your individual stocks or funds will be temporarily down. A strategic investor doesn't just stare at those paper losses and hope they come back. They harvest them. Here is how it works. Let us say you own an S&P 500 ETF and it is currently down 10%. You can sell it, locking in that loss for tax purposes. Then you immediately reinvest that same money into a very similar but not identical fund like a total stock market ETF. You're still fully invested and haven't messed with your long-term plan, but you now have a valuable tax asset on the books to use against future gains. You've just turned a temporary market dip into a permanent tax break. Section 6. The big picture. Your taxes funding your own growth. So far, we've been focused on moves you can make inside your portfolio. But there's a bigger, more philosophical point here. When you zoom out, where do your higher tax dollars actually go? A big chunk of it is public investment. We're talking about upgrading infrastructure, the roads, bridges, and power grids that businesses rely on. We're talking about funding basic research and development in science and tech. We're talking about education that creates a smarter, more innovative workforce. How does this make you richer? Indirectly, but powerfully. These public investments create a more stable and productive economy for everyone. Better roads lower shipping costs for the companies you own shares in. A better educated workforce leads to the next big innovation that drives profits for those same companies. This isn't just theory. Public investment boosts productivity, and that productivity growth is what ultimately drives corporate profits and, in the long run, higher stock prices. Think of it as the government using a piece of your tax money to build a stronger, faster playing field for the very businesses sitting in your investment portfolio while it's not a check sent directly to you. It's a long-term investment in the health of the economy that underpins everything you own. When you see it that way, taxes stop being just a cost and start looking more like a collective investment in our economic future, a future you have a direct stake in. Conclusion. Let's bring it all home. The idea that higher taxes are a guaranteed loss is a myth, and it's a myth that costs passive investors a fortune. The reality is a high tax world is a world rich with opportunity for anyone willing to be strategic. We've walked through four powerful ways to flip the script. First, asset location, to hide your most taxed investments inside your retirement accounts. Second, the Roth Conversion power play, to pay taxes on your own terms and create a fortress of tax-free wealth. Third, using municipal bonds as a shield, earning tax-free income that gets more valuable every time tax rates go up. And fourth, weaponizing tax loss harvesting to turn market dips into tax-slashing assets. When you combine these hands-on strategies with the big picture understanding that your taxes help fuel the very growth your investments rely on, the whole story changes. You are no longer a victim of tax policy. You are an active player who can use the rules of the game to your advantage. You have far more control than you think. By being proactive, you can not only shield your portfolio from higher taxes, but secretly use them to grow even richer. If you are ready to stop being a passive taxpayer and start being a strategic architect of your own wealth, the journey starts with a plan. To help you, I want you to watch this video next on the 7 biggest tax mistakes most investors make. It's the perfect next step to make sure you're not leaving money on the table. And if you want to see how these strategies could work for your specific situation, there's a link in the description where you can schedule a complimentary portfolio review with my team. Thank you for investing your time with me today. Now go take control.